Welcome back to Behind the Caution Tape. I'm your host, CrashLit. We are recording out of the Surf House on 29th Street in University Park. So let's get into everything that happened last week in USC Athletics and everything happening this week in USC Athletics right now. And apologize if you hear any noise in the background of my room. They are doing some work out in the front yard, giving us hedges, it sounds like, according to my roommates. So definitely should be a bit more beautiful out in the front. But anyways, let's get focused on USC Athletics. So let's start with some women's lacrosse news. Their next event is the Cardinal Gold Scrimmage. This upcoming Saturday at Allison Felix Field. I've been to one of these before. It's where they split the team. It's where they split the lacrosse team up and they compete against each other. Definitely competitive. And I think the year I went, it was fun because Maggie Ramsey was a freshman and her older sister Katie was a graduate student. They were put on other teams. So definitely fun with that one to see some Ramsey versus Ramsey. Actually, I think I commented on that and it kind of got a few likes on their when they were promoting one of their inter-squad scrimmages. So it's definitely, inter-squad scrimmages. So definitely, fun experience to see. So yeah, so that's what lacrosse has up next. Women's cross country will take part in the Highlander Invitational at Riverside. That'll be hosted by UC Riverside. Also on Saturday, competition starts at 8 a.m. And this is of note, their final regular season competition or event prior to the Big Ten championships and the NCAA tournament. So definitely one more time for this team to really get settled in and prepared before postseason begins. So big event for cross country. Next up is men's golf, who finished fourth at the Trinity Forest Invitational that was happening last week from October 6th through 8th. That was hosted by SMU in Dallas, and freshman Jack Buchanan individually finished second overall. USC is next out at the Golf Club of Georgia Intercollegiate in Alpharetta, Georgia, and that'll be hosted by Georgia Tech this weekend from Friday through Sunday. Women's golf, meanwhile, did not compete this past week, and their next event will be the Stanford Intercollegiate Invitational from this upcoming Friday through Sunday. That'll be October 18th through 20th in Palo Alto. Men's tennis, meanwhile, took part in the Louisville 25 feature all last week. That pretty much ran from when we were recording last Monday up until yesterday. And then they will next be out at the ITA Southwest Regional Championships in Tempe, Arizona. That starts on Thursday and will run through a week from tomorrow. So we will bring you updates as we get those and definitely recap that once it is over. Women's team, meanwhile, took part in the ITF 35K Bakersfield, running from last Wednesday up until yesterday, and they're next out at the ITA Southwest Regional Championships in San Diego, California, starting Thursday and will run through a week from tomorrow. So we will have updates for you next week and give you the final recaps in give you the final results once those come in after competition is over in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, swim and dive kicked off their seasons this week with the USC Swim Invitational at Utangzu Aquatic Center. That was held on Friday and Saturday. Both teams hosted Hawaii for it. The men's team won 220.5 to 85.5, and the women's team won 226 to 81. So that puts both teams starting the season at 1-0. And then they'll both next host Arizona at Utangzu Aquatic Center on November 8th. That'll start at 1 p.m. Arizona will be coming to town. So former Pac-12 foe coming in. And I think you're seeing with a lot of these non-conference competitions or games, you're seeing USC going against them due to it's a lot easier to go to those schools due to the especially with the much more brutal travel school teams are now facing being in the Big Ten. Meanwhile, let's get into some basketball news. And I did confirm shortly after recording, both from people I know and also from a post on the USC Athletics X page, that hoopla was canceled last week. So that did not happen. So for anyone worried about missing out on it, you did not miss it. Do not worry. I was right there with you until I got official confirmation on it. So it was they said it was due to, quote, unforeseen circumstances. As I said, I think it was unfortunate it couldn't happen. I think it would have been a great way to showcase both teams, especially the new players, and especially on the men's side for sure with everyone new coming in. And speaking of the men's team, tomorrow they have their first action where they will host UTSA for their first exhibition, which is why I'm wearing this old USC t-shirt with the roster from my freshman year here. Only Harrison Horner remains for those of you who can see here on it, who are watching this on YouTube. So you can see that, yeah, I'm decided to wear this for that reason. I think it should be a good game. As I mentioned last week, it's going to be UTSA also has a new coach, 14 new scholarship players. USC's got a new coach in Eric Musselman, 16 new players. So definitely a very interesting matchup in regards to the fact that it's two new look teams playing each other. And I think it'll give fans just a really good taste of just what to expect from this team. I think it's definitely going to be an interesting season. I think Eric Musselman, as I've said before, was a very good hire by athletic director Jen Cohen. So I'm really looking forward to this season, this new era of USC men's basketball. And I'm just looking forward to just getting that first taste of what it's going to be like and just kind of get an idea of what to expect from the season before the season even officially kicks off. And now let's move on to some women's soccer. They are continuing to stay hot throughout everything. They beat Illinois on Thursday, 3-2. Maria Alagoa, Maylee Hayes, and Faith George all scored for USC. Illinois then rallied back with 2 goals, but still came up a goal short. So Trojans got walked out of there the win, and then played Northwestern, beating them 2-1, where Maria Alagoa scored early, and then Ines Darien got a PK early in the second half to put USC up for good against the Wildcats. So they're currently ranked 19th, and I'll expect they'll probably move up a spot or two. They are red hot right now. They're 11-1-2, and right now the three-way tie we saw last week is down to 2 teams, just between USC and UCLA. So the implications of that could be big, especially if both teams win next week. That is very possible, and it could come down to the Big Ten regular season title being decided at the Coliseum in the Crosstown Showdown on October 27th. That is a game I will be at. It is one I'm really looking forward to, especially if both teams stay hot and keep winning. And we'll get into some more Crosstown Showdown action later with volleyball, but sticking on soccer for the moment, it's just should be a great match regardless. But still, if both teams are tied for first and they're playing for the conference, that should just be an incredible matchup. And I think you're seeing Coach Jane Alukanis just doing a great job with this program. So it's been really exciting to follow them, and definitely looking forward to being at their match this week against Ohio State, which brings us to the next topic of this team. Their matches this week, they'll host, and then they're currently, before I get into actually, I want to backtrack. So they're currently ranked 19th. I'll expect they'll move up a spot or two. We'll see where it goes. Rankings haven't been posted yet, so I'm going off of last week. All rankings are based on last week. They got an 11-1-2 record, 2-way tie with UCLA, 7-0-1 in Big Ten record. That's 22 total points. And then their next match is against currently ranked number 8 Ohio State, who is 10-2-3 on the year overall, 5-1-2 in Big Ten play at 6 p.m. this Thursday at BMO Stadium. So I think it's a great opportunity for the Trojans to just play in a great soccer environment. I've been to BMO once for an Angel City game with one of my really close friends. So looking forward to being back. Haven't been a minute. Game is free. Make sure to go to usctrojans.com and go to the soccer page and make sure to register for a ticket. It is free, but you do need to reserve a ticket in advance to be let in. So I already got mine this past week when I was home for fall break. Definitely make sure to go. It should be a great environment. I think it'll be USC's first time playing there since 2020, I believe, or since the 2020 or 2019 season when they played Florida there in a neutral site game. This one will be a home game because USC does control it being a conference game and all that, but still should be a great game. Really excited for it to see a game in BMO Stadium. So that should be a great game and have big implications. It's going to be a tough one for sure, that I think USC I think USC has a chance to just win their final 3 games of the season. And then that brings us to their next game, which is against Penn State, currently ranked 20th. They'll probably all and they're 11-3-2 on the year, 5-2-1 in Big Ten play. That'll be at 12 p.m. at Dignity Health Sports Park. So definitely two big games for the Trojans this week with regards to just being able to just prove they belong in the Big Ten. I think they've done a great job proving that, but these two matches will just be some real testers for them to really prove they belong in it. And I'm really excited to just see how all these play out. So definitely looking forward to being at the game at BMO. I'll get more into that at the end of the show. Now let's turn to men's water polo. Had an exhibition game against Cuesta. Due to Cuesta being a junior college, it doesn't count. But USC absolutely walloped them at Tengu 23-3. So a big win for the Trojans. Before the following day, last Friday, going to LMU, they beat Westcliff 25-7, then beat Loyola Marymount in their own pool 13-3. Moves USC to 14-2 on the season. They're currently ranked third. I expect they'll probably stay there given UCLA was off last week and Stanford beat UC Davis. UCLA was number 2. Stanford was number 1. So don't see any changes really happening there. But still, going to be some big matchups. Princeton comes to town on Wednesday at 5 p.m. And then UCLA for the next Crosstown Showdown, first one at home for USC, will be at 1 p.m. on Saturday. Both games will also be available on overnight.com. No eye in that, by the way, for those of you who have to stream it. So make sure to go watch there. But I think for this UCLA especially, this is going to be a big one. Trojans are going to be wanting revenge. It's UCLA, and it's just, the rivalry, as I've talked about before. There's just the hate's there. I'll admit, UCLA, I think, is a great school overall. I got a ton of friends over there who love it, but at the end of the day, I'm at USC, so I hate UCLA. I'll just say that right now, in case that has never been clear by people who've just seen me around at USC events cheering on the Trojans. I hate UCLA. There you go. I said it again. And I'll probably say it again later in the show when we talk about volleyball in a few. But yeah, so big matchups this week, and especially just given the UCLA game is an MPSF matchup. USC trying to get back in the MPSF race after that tough loss to Stanford a couple weeks back. So big games this week for the Trojans. Just keep the momentum rolling and try to keep competing with the top teams in the country pretty much. So now let's turn to football. So my parents, and especially my mom, have really loved coming to USC games. My mom especially is just like, we need to keep going to these games. And especially, as I've mentioned, we got a couple close family friends who went to Penn State, so they were here. So I didn't get to see them, but my parents did. So it's just, overall, it's just, these games are just fun, and I feel like especially with college football, you just see it, just these sports can just bring people together, which is really special. So it's always just cool to just see my parents just really enjoy coming to these things, just getting to spend time with them. Got dinner with them at Roadside Taco down the street from where I live here in the Surf House. It's really good. You guys should try it. You all should try it sometime. But anyways, on to the game now. So Penn State beat USC 33-30 in overtime on Saturday at the Coliseum. So it was a brutal loss, but I'll give a lot of credit to Penn State. They're a good team. There's a reason they were ranked number 4 in the country and why they moved up to number 3 after they beat USC. So James Franklin, I think, has done a phenomenal job. And I mean, you saw him make good adjustments this year when he fired his offensive coordinator and brought in a new offensive coordinator. And I think it's Andy Kotelnicki, who's really helped Drew Aller take his game to the next level. And then also replaced his defensive coordinator following Manny Diaz's departure to Duke to take the head job there. But overall, you just see this Penn State team has just been really solid for a long time. And I think, obviously a lot of credit goes to tight end Tyler Warren, who's really good. Had a ton of reception. Penn State just saw he was the hot hand. They fed him. So I think definitely there's a lot of improvement to be made everywhere on this team. And I know fans are starting to become unhappy with Riley, but we need to continue to have confidence that the team can turn it around. And 6 games left. Sure, maybe USC might not make the playoffs, might not win the Big Ten, but there's still a lot left to be played for. I think we as fans need to take a glass half full approach and try to just hope that this team just comes out angry in this next week and just goes on a rampage and can find a way to just finish this year strong. And I think there's no better example of this than last year when USC beat Arizona in triple overtime. USC went to 6-0. Arizona fell to 3-3. And then Arizona, just something about them after that loss, just they came out angry and won 7 straight games to finish the year and finish 10-3. So and win the Alamo Bowl over Oklahoma. So my point is, yes, that loss hurt. I'm not going to deny that. And yes, there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, but I think we need to stay positive and just look to what can still be played for. We could still end up in a really good bowl game if we have a 9-3 record. It's definitely going to be tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, especially when we get into the games. Like Maryland, sure, they're 3-3, but USC's got to go across the country for it. I'll get into that in a minute. But anyways, Notre Dame, you get the idea of where I'm going with this. But pretty much my point is there's still a lot to be played for. And I just want to see this team play out angry and just prove to everyone and prove what Lincoln Riley said, where it's just maybe this team could be 6-0. I mean, they've proven they can compete with these teams. Just they've had trouble finishing the job in some scenarios. I mean, USC definitely did start that first half out strong, but then struggled in the second half, which allowed Penn State to come back in and win in overtime. But I think just really USC just needs to come out, play angry, and just prove we belong in the Big Ten. We're going to get next year, and we just need to finish this year on a strong note. So those are my thoughts on that. I think we all just need to stay positive and just have confidence that this team can turn around and that they're going to be just as angry, if not angrier than we, the fans, are, because of just how close they came to being the number 4 team in the country. And with the loss, USC did only get 5 AP votes in this week's poll. Team fell to 3-3, 1-3 in Big Ten. Like I said, still a lot to be played for, but I think, like I said, let's move on to this game against Maryland. They're 3-3, haven't won a Big Ten game yet, but it is at Maryland, so it's gonna be at 1 p.m. Pacific time on Fox Sports 1. Definitely gonna watch most of it from Rock and Riley's, and it should be a tough game. And I think USC can't overlook Maryland, especially with how some of these games have gone, especially Minnesota. You can't get caught looking ahead now. And like I said, you just gotta focus it one game at a time, just play the game for what it is and just make sure to just focus on each game and then just get better every week. And hopefully the season can turn into something special, even if it doesn't wind up with a conference or a national championship. And now let's turn to some women's volleyball. So they had a tough 3-0 loss to then number 11 Oregon in Eugene last Wednesday. USC played well at times, struggled others, and just needs to be more consistent. They were definitely competitive in that second set. But as someone who's played volleyball, I know you are the underdog in a tight set and you fail to win, it derails your momentum for the rest of the match. And I think that's what we saw happen with USC. And I think they'll definitely have a good advantage against Oregon next time when they come to town, but definitely they'll need to play better and just can't rely on being streaky. They just need to be consistent, just be that steady consistency. Being streaky doesn't work against good teams. It works when against teams that aren't as good, but against those better teams, you cannot rely on being streaky. But I still think I have a lot of faith in head coach Brad Keller. He's doing a great job. He's done a really good job preparing this team for the Big Ten. And so definitely tough loss for sure, but Oregon's been doing very well for years in women's volleyball. So it's not a bad loss, but just definitely one that hurts, especially when you get kind of blown out in a couple sets and you leave Eugene having been swept. Also, before we move on to the Crosstown Showdown, big congratulations to junior libero Gala Trubint for surpassing the 100th career dig mark. She is the 20th Trojan in history to achieve that feat. So a big shout out to her. She's been doing great, getting balls up, throwing her body on the floor. So definitely a big shout out to her and just looking forward to seeing how this team does. And then I was at the Crosstown Showdown last night, first serve at 4:30. Crazy game. But I mean, that's what those are. As I've said, whenever it's a Crosstown Showdown, it doesn't matter how good the teams are. UCLA, I think, came into this game 8-6, 2-3 in Big Ten play. but you knew that they weren't going to go down without a fight. And that's exactly what happened. USC got the first set, but UCLA rebounded fiercely in sets 2 and 3 to win those. But USC fired back to win sets 4 and grit out a fifth set, a 5-set win, taking the fifth set 15-11. It was an absolute thriller of a match. It's what you love about these matches. You love seeing these rivalries, especially the Crosstown Showdown. It's always my favorite match, no matter what the sport. It's why those are like my favorite matches every year. So anytime I get the chance to go, especially for sport like volleyball, which I played, I love being at those. So it's a thrill of a match. I think USC probably could have played better at times, but overall, I'm really happy that they got this win out and just are really solidifying their place in the big in that upper part of the Big Ten. So they're doing a good job. They definitely got a lot of things to work on. And I think they can keep doing that. They'll have 2 good games to get this week. And before we move on to those, another great thing about this game, it was the most attended crosstown or game in women's volleyball game at Galen Center. Over 7,000 tickets were sold. So great match. I heard before it's close to 6,000, but to hear it get to over 7,000, just seeing those long lines before first serve, people lining up hours, I think it was about 2 hours people started lining up before. So this is a great experience. Love seeing fans. Hopefully they keep coming back for more of these games, especially some big matchups with Michigan State and Penn State coming in a couple of weeks. But before that, USC held steady at 16th in the AVCA rankings. They're now 12-4 on the year, 4-2 in Big Ten play, tied for 5th in the conference. And I think this week they should be able to get 2 wins. They play at Maryland on Friday at 4 p.m. and then at Rutgers on Sunday at 10 a.m. Both those games will be streaming on the Big Ten Plus. So make sure you have that subscription. Get that subscription if you want to watch. It does require it, unfortunately. And I think these will be 2 games that'll help the Trojans just kind of get ready before Michigan State and Penn State come to Galen Center in a couple of weeks. So I think it's definitely going to be some big games for the Trojans. They can just keep the momentum going. I think getting that Crosstown Showdown win is a big win for the program. And I think it's just definitely really looking forward to just being back for this team. Probably one of my favorite teams to support right now because they're just doing so well. And it's why I always will make sure to try to cheer on this team. It's even why I went to, Pepperdine for those first 2 games before going to Vegas for that LSU football game. But anyway, so those are the things that are just happening with this team. I think they can win these games, but they're just going to need to play more consistent. And I think these are 2 good games to try to really work on being more consistent and not having kind of that streakiness where you're on a hot streak, then go cold for a bit and you're grinding out the win. So I think these are 2 good games to really just work on being consistent from start to finish and trying to just get some good wins. So I'm going to definitely try to watch some of those if I can, for sure. I got to see about my schedule. I have some class things, so I'll watch what I can with that for sure. But definitely 2 big matches this week for this team. So now finally to close out, last week I went 1-1 of games I attended. So lost the football game to Penn State, but then won with women's volleyball last night in the Crosstown Showdown. That puts me at 16-3 on the season and 228-85 all time through my time here at USC. So my plans for this week are I'm going to be at the men's basketball game for about half of it against UTSA. It's the exhibition game. Make it if you can. I did make plans to go to a Shabuzi concert with my parents. And that's been on the calendar for a few months. So definitely was bent on making it to what I could, but definitely don't want to miss this, especially because I promised them I'd make it. Thursday, I'll be at BMO Stadium for the soccer match against Ohio State. Saturday, I'll be going to a men's water polo against UCLA. And then right afterwards, I'll be going over to Rock and Riley's to watch the remainder of the football game, probably catch, I guess, most of the second quarter and beyond. And then depending on how everything else goes, I'll try to watch those women's volleyball matches against Maryland and Rutgers. So that's everything we got for you this week on Behind the Caution Tape. Thank you again so much for everyone who's been subscribing and tuning in and listening to this podcast. I've been having a ton of fun doing this. I look forward to seeing you all next week, and fight on.